Hello, darling. Today we're going to get you dancing burlesque. Today I'm going to go over my top 6 burlesque moves. What's great about these is they are wonderful for burlesque. However, they're also fantastic for any sort of dancing and choreography, especially the sassy stuff. Let's go ahead and get started. So some things to keep in mind about burlesque dance specifically is it's all about the tease, and it can actually look a lot of different ways. Burlesque, when it was originally started decades ago, it was typically done a little bit more comedically for comedic political satire. Slowly over the years, it's evolved to be more sexy, and it is what it is today in a little bit more modern style. But what's wonderful about it is the rules are sort of fast and loose, and you can feel free to break them at any time. Definitely, with any burlesque performance, it is all about the tease and all about the big reveal. So getting started with a performance, I like to actually start almost with what is that big reveal going to be at the end? Is it actually taking off layers and clothing, or is it transforming and revealing a whole new character or person underneath? Or maybe you're starting with less clothes and putting more clothes on. Feel free to, again, mix it up and play with that storyline. Once you know what that big reveal is going to be, from there you can sort of work your way backwards. Again, don't feel like you have to have that beginning absolutely match up with the ending. Along the way, it can sort of take a turn and you can fill in any other thing and start it completely different than it ends. And that makes for a very interesting performance and theme switch throughout your performance. As far as our moves, let's get into them. A great way to explore this movement through the body is to pick a starting point. I can either pick at the top and move my way down, or my bottom and move my way up. I like to usually build from the foundation up, so we're going to start with our sassy, slinky legs. So wonderful burlesque moves are just simple walks, and you can really do any pattern with this. We have our grapevine walks where we're stepping in front and behind ourselves. I like to add a little bit of a point or a sassy tap, and it's an easy 3-step count. Step, side, back, and point. Step, side, back, and point. Now we can get a little bit more sassy with that. When I do my steps, I can drag and make circles or designs with that foot before moving it along. I can do little flicks or pickups. I can make that a little bit more interesting as I move through. Imagine you've got paintbrushes on your toes and you're just going to draw beautiful lines and designs on the floor. From there, we can also use our knees, so bending those knees, flicking those feet, doing different things. Sassy little crosses with our legs and our knees can be a fun little thing. Moving up, we've got our hips don't lie, baby. Wonderful rules for moving our hips is to have very soft knees. Always keep those knees bent. Simple weight transfers, if I think about putting weight into one foot at a time, and making myself a rule that I'm not going to move my torso. So as I straighten that knee, it's got only my hip to go up into. So start with slow weight transfers from side to side, letting those hips move. Try to stay very stable with that upper body. That's going to get those hips to move. With those soft knees, again, we can start creating lines and circles and designs, maybe some circles, taking those hips around to the side, to the back, and to the other side, changing those directions. Also, figure eights are always a go-to. With our figure eights, it's a circle on each side. So we're going to take one hip, circle it around, and then it actually cuts through a diagonal to that other side. Keeping our knees soft, we can figure eight, swooping it side to side. I can also reverse that, take it back, side, forward, back, side, forward. Usually people will feel a little more natural in one direction over the other, so feel free to try both and see what you like. So with that figure eight, think about hitting 3 points on each wall. Front, side, back, front, side, back, front, side, back, front, side, back. We can also make our hips a little more sassy and add a little more oomph and va-va-voom with those hips. So if we think about putting it in fast and sort of squeezing in through the obliques. Think about pulling your hip up to your rib cage using those obliques. You can even give the booty a little squeeze to make it pop, 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 pop. So I'm using my feet, I'm using my obliques, and I'm using the booty. If you've ever done belly dance, you're gonna get a lot of practice with this. Let's take it up now into our arms and our hands, darling. A world awaits through the arms and hands. What I love about burlesque, more than other traditional styles, is it's a lot about the subtlety. Keep in mind, smaller movements, subtle movements will help draw your audience into you. Using those arms, using those hands will help enhance a lot of your movement. I can definitely use my hands to point, either to a person in my audience, or wherever my hand goes, I can also take my attention to that part of my performance as well. Good things with the arms are focusing on those waves, and this can take a little bit of practice. Think about your elbows, wrists, wrists. So I'm going to lead with those elbows, wrists, elbows, lead, wrists. Feel your hands. Don't be afraid to really explore that range of motion through the fingers and the hands. Feel your hands, feel them sensing and moving through the air, and that's going to really tune it into a very interesting shape. Also, with our shoulders, let's get a little bit more into the shoulders. Again, we can take them into those sensual circles, rolling from side to side, or reversing it into that forward circle. Another point on sensual movement and sexy movement is, when in doubt, circle it out. Anytime I think about circling a body part, it's going to add so much beauty and sensuality and softness. It's going to enhance my natural curves. And I'm just thinking about creating circles. It's a very natural, comfortable way for the body to move. So it's going to feel natural, and it's going to look really natural as well. So let's talk about shoulder shimmies, because this one is going to be a good one for a highlight in your routine. So with your shoulder circles, we want to make sure those shoulders are pulling down away from the ears. We don't want to be shrugged up. Pull those shoulders down. Engage your lats in your back to pull those shoulders down. From here, I've got nice open chest, really exposing that area that I want to show off. So for our shimmy, it's going to be more about muscle control. It's less about really moving what we've got going on up here, although you can definitely do that. But I want you to think about the muscles in your shoulders. So I'm going to use the pec muscles in the front to pull that shoulder forward, and then the muscles in the posterior back of the shoulder to then take it back. We can start with just these drills of one shoulder at a time. Boom, 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 just taking that forward and back, and then it's going to go opposite. So we can start slow with this and get a little bit more comfortable with that. Once we get there, we can get a little bit more sassy, 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 shimmy, 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 always a show-stopping move. Also with the shoulders, we can feel free to shrug. You can maybe take it forward, up, back, and down, just adding a little bit of nuance through your movement. Something else that is a huge part of performance, especially in burlesque, is that beautiful face of yours, darling. Now, we can make this so interesting. Every nuance in your face can be a part of your choreography and a part of your story. So don't forget about the beautiful mouth and lips. Smile. You can also blow kisses or make other facial expressions, but definitely show off your chompers and your teeth in a beautiful smile. Something that we don't have to do is paste on a smile the whole time and let it be really cheesy the whole time, because that's also unnatural. So find in your music, in your choreography, when you want to add that smile in, but also make sure that we're not scowling and concentrating too hard as we're going through our performance. Very important, through our eyes. So wherever we are looking, our audience is going to look. So for example, if I'm out here and I'm looking at my audience, but then I look at my arm, and I can even use my hand to help if I'm letting that trace up, that's going to draw attention. Again, if it's too much eye contact, that's going to be uncomfortable as well. It's going to be like I'm staring into your soul, and that's going to be uncomfortable. If I'm looking at you and then I can look away, it invites you in. Also, if I'm looking right at you and I'm doing a little sassy shimmy or I'm showing off my little leg, if I'm looking at you in your eyes, you're not going to be looking at my leg, you're going to be looking at my eyes. But if I invite you to take a look at my legs or take a look somewhere else, it gives you that comfortable opportunity to look at that different part of my movement. If we're not looking at our audience at all, it makes our audience uncomfortable. It makes them feel like we don't want them to be watching us. So especially if you feel nervous about this, practice walking in, looking at your audience at the beginning of your routine, and pick some different points that you can choreograph those eye contact moments throughout. One other tip for performing, especially if you're doing pole or aerial moves and really moving upside down a lot, is, and this will also eliminate any sort of double chin smile, is if you pull your tongue towards the back of your throat. That's going to open up this area and it's going to keep your tongue out of the way so you're not biting it in some of these moves. But that's just going to also open up this area and give you a really beautiful, open, easygoing smile. And if you're having trouble with facial expressions, let yourself be your audience member. Do it in front of a mirror. You're going to practice what feels good, what looks good and natural, and just have fun with it, darling. And last but not least, darling, your hair. Well, also head whips. So using this as part of your costume. If you've got long hair, definitely utilize it to your advantage. If it's going to be weighed down, keep note. It can actually be part of your cover, part of your big reveal, and part of the play to pull that out of the way and expose different parts of your upper body. If you don't have long hair, that's okay. Keep in mind hair whips and dynamic movements with your head and your crown are going to go a long way. They add a lot of pizzazz, a lot of ta-das, and they can really get your audience attention and they can really add to your performance. Be very careful with head whips. We never want to whip it all the way around 360 degrees. That will hurt our neck. So it's really important that you warm up your neck and open up your shoulders to start. We don't want to do it like this. Really open up and find that alignment through your whole spine. The dynamic part of our hair whip is from front diagonal, chin to chest, front diagonal. Think of a little swoosh check mark. Ba-bam, ba-bam. If we want to take it slow all in the back, fast in the front, slow in the back, it makes it really sensual. And if that hurts our neck at all, don't be worried about just taking it up and over like a rainbow, up and over to the side. A couple other things to keep in mind with burlesque is our costumes and our layers. So feel free to play with a lot of different layers and play with the level of exposing different parts of your body, and maybe you put it back away. So feel free to give a little and then take it away. Burlesque is so much fun and it can really be whatever you want it to be. I love my burlesque to be fabulously luxurious. So it's really up to you however you want that to look. So there you go, darling. I hope that you have so much fun exploring this sensual, sassy burlesque movements. Feel free to try out some different props and get creative, get silly, get fun, because that's what it's all about. I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Angela at the Moxie Movement. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Mwah.